What is up, Snarf Gang? It's your boy Snarf Brownie, and today I will be reviewing the Avengers Omnibus Volume 1. This collects Avengers 1 through 30. Now, in the past, I have complained about the newer Marvel Omnibus printing's paper quality because it can be like see-through for certain panels. You can see past it what's on the next panel. This one, the paper on it's a little bit thicker. I feel like you couldn't do that unless you were holding it up from the next page so that the light hit it. You couldn't see through it, and I think that was pretty epic. So, take a look at that. The dust jacket on. We got the Avengers here. A logo on the back. We got the covers of all the issues in the back. There's your spine. And now, I had never read an Avengers comic before, and I didn't know pretty much anything about the Avengers history whatsoever. So, spoiler warning, but I was not expecting the team to pretty much change all of its original members, like, halfway through. Like, not even really halfway through. It's like a little bit less than halfway through, which is kind of wild. So we start out with the original Avengers with Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, Giant Man, or Ant-Man, and the Wasp, right? So that's our OG Avengers. And then a few issues later, Captain America joins. The Hulk leaves to do his own thing. And then a few issues later, Iron Man and Thor and Ant-Man are all like, we're going on vacation. So then Captain America recruits Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Hawkeye. Now let me ask you something. What's a better team? Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Captain America? Or Captain America, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver? I don't think it's a very hard question to answer, and I feel like it has a very definitive, correct answer. The OG Avengers are way cooler. Now, just because the book dropped from an S tier team to like an A or not even A. That's like a B tier team, bro. Since it dropped from like a B tier team, did it get worse? For like an issue, I'd say the writing is still really good. One thing I will say though, I can't stand Hawkeye, bro. He is annoying as hell, bro, because literally he just thinks he's hot shit, and he's literally the biggest fucking loser of the entire group, bro. Because he was literally trained, like, okay, this is all spoilers, but it's not really that big a deal. He was trained by this guy called the Swordsman, and he is such a bum. I'm not gonna lie, the Swordsman is such a bum. Lame design, lame powers. He's literally just a guy that can use a sword. Like, you are outclassed by so many people, little bro. So, Hawkeye was trained by that guy, except he's the Arrow version, right? All this dude can do is projectile spam, and he thinks he should be the leader of the Avengers. He's always trying to bitch out Captain America, and he's always fighting with the other teammates and starting shit, and I'm just like, bro, can you please just, like, chill for once? Like, you are so fucking annoying. My favorite member of the Avengers after the team changed is the Scarlet Witch by far, because she's the most mild-tempered and she has the coolest powers. Second favorite's probably Captain America, but I'm not gonna lie, he's kind of lame because he doesn't have any powers. Yeah, he's still got aura, and he's still my second favorite just because he also fights the most, and I do like the underdog, like, thing he's got going against literally everyone he fights because he doesn't have powers. But it's annoying sometimes whenever he's fighting a threat and he's just like tickling them with all of his attacks and he's not doing shit. And I'm just like, bro, why the fuck are Iron Man, Thor, and a Giant Man all on vacation? Like, Giant Man Loki had a valid reason, but none of those other fuckers did. I'm not gonna lie. Hulk, he gets a pass because he's low-key slow. But the other guys, bro, like, this is your team, bro. Like, Captain America, I feel bad for him, bro, because he got screwed over. First off, the Avengers are the first people to discover him after he gets unfrozen from a block of ice that had kept him frozen since World War II, right? So he realizes that they're heroes and he wants to get back in the action, so he joins them, right? And they all dip out like super fast, and then they leave him with a group of hot-headed, ambitious young heroes that all want to be the leader of the team, except Scarlet Witch, which is why she's my favorite, because she's chill. And they're always trying to fucking fight with them, and it's just like, bro. Captain America got done so dirty. He basically got bait and switched, getting left with all these young brats. He's like babysitting practically. It's a shit deal. And, you know, he does a good job as leader. Like, okay, Captain America, I like him a lot more than I did before reading this, just because he handles his shit, you know what I mean? But, like, he's low-key just a shit kicker. Like, he just gets so much shit from all the villains and his teammates around him, and, like, he low-key starts having, like, a crisis later on, just like, man, am I ever going to have a life of my own, or is it just going to be running this fucking team? You know what I mean? And I get it. So, some decent character conflicts throughout this whole thing. I will say that the new Avengers team is a lot better for pumping up the drama than the old Avengers team, because they're really at each other's throats a lot more, but I don't know, man. I just would rather them be beefing with the villains and just have actually really cool, powerful heroes. There's no way you can't write cool dialogue and conflicts between the main heroes, whatever. But enough of that. Let's look at the art. Pretty epic. Oh, that's a letter page. By the way, one thing I will say is the Marvel writing, although it is very attention grabbing and it really pulls you in to the story, it has a lot of what's the word? Errors in the story, just like straight up, like continuity errors. People are constantly pointing them out in the letter pages, but one that I noticed in the last issue of this, which is a cliffhanger, by the way, so fuck you if you don't own volume 2, but one thing I noticed in the last issue of this, remember the guy, the swordsman that trained Hawkeye? Well, he trained Hawkeye before he was known as Hawkeye. He was just a regular guy back then. So once he dons the Hawkeye, costume and starts being Hawkeye or whatever, and he fights that dude again, he doesn't know that it's the same guy he trained because he's in a costume, right? But then the next time they fight, he's talking about oh, you can never be better than your master. But it's like, how did you even figure out that it was Hawkeye? That was never even addressed. And there's just a lot of small things like that in here that it's just yeah, it could be explained away with oh, he could tell it was Hawkeye just by the way he handled the bow. But if that was actually the reason, just say that. You know what I mean? It's the fact they forget about those little things that are just it's whatever. It's not a huge deal, but it will be taking the writing score down. I got a little bit of grace, though, keeping in mind that these were all written on a publishing schedule, really far apart. And also the people writing these had to write with for a bunch of different titles, so I get why it would be hard to keep track of all that lore and stuff or whatever. So what would I give this on a rating of writing and art? For writing, I would probably give it a 7.5 out of 10, because there are a couple things in it that are just I said my grievances with what I thought were things that were annoying about it. I didn't like the bait and switch with the Avengers team. Even though I did end up liking the new team, Hawkeye still pisses me off enough for that decision to annoy me. And the fact it leaves off on a cliffhanger technically isn't the fault of the writing, but it is a review of the Omnibus, and the Omnibus does leave off on a cliffhanger, literally in the middle of an arc. You couldn't have just finished that arc. But yeah, whatever. Would I recommend it to someone who's a fan of the Avengers? I guess. This Omnibus I was able to get pretty on the cheap. There's this seller on eBay called Fanaticals, F-U-N, F-U-N, Aticals, fun Aticals. I got this for $35, I think, which is a really good price for an Omni. So if you're getting it that cheap, yeah, I'd recommend it. But if you're paying, what is market price for this bullshit? $100, I would not recommend this shit, because if you were a fan of the Avengers, I would expect you to be a fan of the OG Avengers team, not this Captain America and his ragtag group of fellas yee ass team. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for that reason, but if you were just trying to get into it and you had an open mind, I would recommend it because it's still good writing, but it's not necessarily what I signed up for. Art, I'll give it a 9 out of 10 for art. The art in this is really fire. A particular one that I liked was the issue. I don't remember which number it is, but they were fighting an underwater enemy, and the underwater shots in that issue were so cool. Let me see if I can find some cool ones. Here's some them being underwater. Those ones aren't super cool though. I'm more thinking about the ones where they're. Yeah, this is the one. This octopus looks really sick. And let me show you the next page where they're like trying to weave around it. Look at that. Like, that's just cool. So for that, I'll give the art a 9 out of 10. The art in this was a lot better than in some other Silver Age stuff that I've read, a lot more consistently good art to. So overall, it was a good read. Like, I got through this shit fast because I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, but... See, one thing I will say about the writing is, yes, the bait and switch sucked, but that's from a modern perspective of what I expected the Avengers to be. Yes, people, like, if you read the letter pages, not everyone liked the switch either back then, but it's, all things considered, it is an interesting story twist. So, to keep the readers engaged, I can see that. Plus, from a business standpoint, it makes sense because if you have all these popular characters, you want to spread them out into their own individual mags in order for them to make more collective money by selling their each own individual series, right? So that makes sense. And also, it would be hard to keep track of the continuity if they were all coming out on the same day and you had Iron Man in his own series and you had him in the Avengers, and you had Thor in his own series and you had him in the Avengers, and it's like, are they doing this shit at the same time? Like, is a few days passed? Like, what the fuck's going on there? And it just creates a little bit of confusion. So in the way that keeping the Marvel continuity in check, which I think is a very important part of the comic, like, connected universe, I really respect their decision to do that because, you know, it makes more sense. They really don't give a shit about that now nearly as much as they used to. But yeah, that was my review of the Avengers Omnibus Volume 1. Snarf Gang out.